Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Woodgie here, and I'm going to come at you with a 4.5-year review on my Dodge Charger. Excuse the wind today. Today's the only day that I have to do some filming. So I thought I would do an update video because honestly I haven't really posted anything on my channel in a long time. Believe it or not, COVID was a busy year for me with my job and all that other stuff. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about this 2014 Dodge Charger Pursuit and give a long-term review of this car. So to summarize real quick, I can say that this has been a really fantastic car in the time that I've owned it. It has asked for very minimal maintenance. It has never failed to start. It has never left me stranded. And aside from a couple of small scuffs and nicks, it still looks as good now as it did the day that I bought it 4.5 years ago. I know a lot of people are skeptical about it. And, you know, a lot of people have a lot of things to say about these things. Like, you know, Dodges aren't good, they're not built very well. But the fact of the matter is that even after all the time that I've owned this car, I'm still stunned with it. And I'd still recommend anybody to get one. Now, truth be told, this car is sitting at about almost 180,000 miles now. I purchased it around 120-ish or so back in March or April of 2017. And a couple things I've noticed over the years is these cars go through a lot of tires. I have probably had like 6 or 7 sets of tires on this car in the time that I've owned it. Right now, it has a set of Goodyear Eagle RSAs that I got that were some cop car takeoffs there. These are not the stock size. These are 245 55 18s. Stock size is a 225 60 18, which I think is too small. So I've gone through a lot of tires with this. Right now, it also does need brakes. I feel like I didn't really get very long out of the brakes. I think I did the brakes back in, I don't know, maybe I did. I did the brakes in 2018. And one thing I will say is if you're doing brakes on these, don't cheap out. Do not cheap out on the brakes on these. I bought some really nice pads. I bought Power Stop Top Cop pads, front and rear. But I bought cheap eBay rotors because this has the BR9 big brake package on it. And the cheap eBay rotors warp within a year or two, and they look like crap. So if I decide to keep this car, which I think I might, I'm gonna opt out, pay more money, and get the nice Power Stop rotors. Let's see. Now that we're getting up there in mileage there, some problems that I am having with the car is the front suspension. The front suspension has a terrible creak in it every now and again, and I did some research and I got underneath the car and did some digging, and it is the passenger side lower control arm. Let's see, maybe I can even show it to you. I'm filming off my iPad, so it's kind of got a weird camera angle, but let's see if we'll get you up in there. So yep, that guy right there, it's not really good, but the bushing's all shot, and you can see that she does have a little bit of rust, but she's not bad for a New York car. This is still perfect underside of it. So yeah, the front suspension's starting to have problems, but you know, I think with any 200,000 mile car you would. Engine and transmission wise, this thing's been perfect. Engine and transmission have had no issues. I have never had an issue with Hemi tick. I've never had any slips or anything with the transmission. As a matter of fact, I just serviced the transmission a few days ago. About a year ago, I took the pan off, put on a new filter, and I added an aftermarket transmission pan with a drain plug. And every other oil change, I've been dropping the drain plug and draining the pan and adding 4 or 5 more quarts of fluid, so the transmission's still perfect. Engine doesn't make any weird noises. I did have a scare about 2 months ago on the topic of the engine there. So this is not my only car now. I have a project car that I've been driving, and I'll introduce you guys to the project car if any of you guys really care to see it. But I was driving the project car for 2 weeks, and I went and I fired this thing up, and it was just tap, 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 tap. The lifters were so loud, and I thought, I'm like, yep, that's it. It grenaded itself. The lifters are done. I'm gonna need a camshaft and lifters, you know. Sitting there thinking, you know, I knew this day would come, but I let it run for a few minutes, and as it ran, the noise got quieter and quieter and quieter, and finally it went away. So I talked to some Dodge technicians, and the Dodge technicians told me, they're like, yeah, we have that same issue with brand new Hemis. They sit up on the yard for a while, and if they don't start there, the lifter valley, or where the lifters gets dry, and they make a lot of noise. He said, but if the noise goes away, don't worry about it. So it never happened again, even after the car's been sitting. So that's good, I guess. Like I said, the noise never came back. It never got worse. It went away, and that was it. Let's see, other issues that I have. Okay, the power steering on this car. These cars have the hydroelectric power steering system on them, which means that they're different than the conventional ones. I actually just got done, before filming this video, changing the power steering fluid there. You have to use the specific power steering fluid from Dodge, and the reservoir is like right behind the passenger side tire. You can't use regular power steering fluid because of the system. So I just changed that. That stuff was dirty, because over the past year or so, I've noticed that the steering is, you know, it's still very responsive, but I thought the steering seemed to be getting a little bit tighter. So I changed the fluid last year or the year before, and that fixed the issue for a little bit, but now the tighter steering has come back. It could have something to do with the worn suspension components up front, but truth be told, I think that the hydroelectric pump is getting weak. People have had issues with them failing. And driving my car and then driving other vehicles of the same year range on this platform there, I've noticed that, you know, their steering wheel will bounce back and return to center. And even though mine, you can steer it with 2 fingers, it doesn't return to center, and it's definitely a little stiffer sometimes. So I think that the pump might be getting weak. Sometimes when I'm driving, I'll hear a little noise. I'll hear a little noise from the carrier, or from the drive shaft area. So I think the center support bearing might be wearing out on this, or the rubber insulator that goes between the drive shaft and the shoot, I'm sorry, I can't think of the term. The drive shaft and the rear differential there. There's a rubber bushing between the two. That might be wearing out, but honestly, all these are real small issues. None of these would prevent me from driving this car. I do think that the front suspension issue is going to need to be addressed sooner than later if I want to keep driving it. But now that I have the project car, maybe I can make that a video of me redoing it. But let's fire this thing up. Interior wise, interior on this car is really nice, and the interior's held up great, actually. Sorry, I'm filming off the iPad, and the angles are a little bit weird on this because it's got a very wide angle camera. But yeah, the interior's held up pretty good. I hate that Walmart center console. Spotlight's a little jiggly. Steering wheel leather still in good shape. I actually replaced the steering wheel when I first bought it, and I took out the chrome parts and I put in these black pieces. I'm not sure what they were from, but I just like the look of the black better than the chrome. Dash isn't cracked. My seats are dirty, but they're not ripped. You can see I got duct tape on the seatbelt. That's honestly been there since I bought the car, and I've re-duct taped it every now and again. There used to be a sleeve that went over it. The sleeve disappeared, so I don't know why I duct taped it. It doesn't need to be there, but whatever. Back seats still faring pretty well. My dog doesn't mind it back there. All the power windows work. Oh, here's an issue that I have too. I've had this for a little while. You can hear the door. The door hinges are a little bit starting to get a little bit worn. But honestly, man, most of these issues are just issues that you're going to have with any high mileage car. Everything I've done is maintenance. Oh, yes, I did think of something else. I did have to recharge the air conditioning there because one of the times it sat for a couple of weeks, I got in and the air conditioning was just blowing piss warm, and that annoyed me. So as soon as I put in a fresh can, and this was like a month or two ago, put in a fresh can, it started blowing cold air again, and we were good to go. So not too worried about that. But yeah, aside from a couple of things, this has been great. My Flowmaster exhaust has held up pretty well. I put that on like maybe 6 months after I bought it, and it's been on the car since. See, I added the quad tips. I highly recommend that. So after 4 or 5 years of ownership, yeah, I would definitely recommend one of these. Right now, my biggest thing is deciding if I want to put the money into fixing this car up, because it really doesn't need too much, or maybe if I want to look into getting another one. I can't really decide. The biggest issue is since I've had my project car, this car hasn't been getting driven as much as I drive the project car. So yeah. So I guess I'm gonna end the video here. Maybe I'll give you guys a little exhaust clip before we end out the video of the Flowmaster pipes, and that'll be that. Oh gosh, man, you guys can't see nothing from here. All right, you guys just get to listen, you don't get to see, I guess. I'm sorry. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in for my long-term update on the Charger there. If you guys have any other questions, I definitely would like to do a little more content on this. If I do keep it and fix it up, I probably should. Maybe I'll do some videos on that. So in the meantime, everybody, stay safe and take it easy.